Y'all remember that game? You know, the action RPG where your character gets shot in the head at the beginning and miraculously survives it? You're then saved when a mechanical guy finds your body in a graveyard and takes you to a doctor to get patched up, only for you then to go on this grand adventure where you meet a bunch of different factions and use points while leveling up to really fine tune and craft your character. And then, after completing a bunch of different faction based stories, buying new weapons, and maybe even getting some implants, you choose who you really want to work with and move on to the major action set piece and conclude the game with a major boss fight against a man that seems more metal than flesh.
Where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-karat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Wake the f*** up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
What is a spiritual successor? Well, to me, it's something that embodies the same messages, feels, or basic mechanics of another game. Not to the point where it feels like it's copying, but to that point where when you play it, you feel the connective thread that makes the two feel similar. Of course, we all know Fallout New Vegas. It's an insanely well-remembered game known for its breadth of exploration, the rememberable NPCs, from the most random courier
Hello there.
to the biggest players in the game. Not to mention, there's always something behind every side quest. Be that helping a caravaneer, which leads to you forming a proper town resistance, or getting some eggs for a crazy lady who runs a gladiatorial arena in a sewer, which results in you getting laid. I kind of mean that as a joke. But seriously, most missions either tell you more about the world or lead you towards the conclusion of a major faction's arc. Be that helping out around the town of Good Springs, or rooting out spies in Camp McCarran. Also, hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider subscribing and following me on Twitch. We have a really fun community over there, and when this video goes live, I'll be playing on Twitch Fallout New Vegas randomized. Links below. It's also very important to mention that Fallout New Vegas resonates with so many people. And it stands the test of time, being one of, if not the best Fallout game ever made. One of my favorite aspects of Fallout New Vegas is the way it represents a certain subsect of people. What does a practical biologist, a military requisitions officer, a mechanical punching genius, and a field medic have in common? Well, other than their outstanding knowledge in their chosen professions, they're also all members of the LGBTQIA+. And, as a side note, before we continue, if me talking about LGBT topics in my videos is annoying to you or makes you mad, please leave. No, seriously, this isn't a joke. Don't subscribe, don't comment, don't like, don't do anything of that nature. I don't want you here. I don't want your interaction. There's the door. Alright, now that they're gone, Fallout New Vegas does a really great job of having subtle, realistic, and interesting representations of our community. Not a single character shoves their flag in their face or is over the top just to pander to who they represent. They're human. If you ask them about it, or they have interest in you, you'll know quickly their leanings, but it doesn't define who they are, like you see in a lot of media. Note the gay best friend trope, who is only there to be a gay character. Now that we are 639 words into my script, I think we should talk about the other game. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that was released after 8 years of hype to lackluster reception. Sadly, the game was released in a nearly unplayable state. It was buggier than most Bethesda games, which is something to be said. It was almost as buggy as Fallout New Vegas. Hey, wait a second. Get out of here. This isn't your portion of the video. Luckily, Cyberpunk has since been updated to a much more stable state, and is adored by those who gave it another chance. And seriously, if you haven't played Cyberpunk and you like RPG FPSs with customization, you owe it to yourself to play this before continuing the video. I'm going to spoil a lot. You have been warned. Cyberpunk deals with a lot of concepts, from drug abuse to deposing major political leaders. I said, get out of here. So, what makes me want to make this video? The world of Cyberpunk is really engrossing to me. I've played through it twice and loved it both times. My first time was as a Sendevastan monowire user, and my second was a quick hacking tech weapon user. I've done very little extra research on top of that for this video, so my takes will be based on what I experienced during both of my runs. So, for something to be counted as a spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas, I think there's a few things that they need to really hit. One, to have a satisfying story that is based around introspection. 2, fun and interesting customization options. 3, fleshed out factions. And 4, impactful side quest. Fallout does a really amazing job with this story. You know, you have...
The game was rigged from the start.
Just for you then to go on this map-spanning journey just to get vengeance. But not only that, once you achieve vengeance, you find yourself getting dragged into the major regional conflict because you accidentally made yourself too important. So the courier finds themselves forced to make a decision that will decide the fate of the Mojave. While Cyberpunk is a game with a truly amazing story, just for you to go on this giant map-spanning journey for somebody else's vengeance. It's honestly kind of interesting that the protagonist, V, isn't themselves motivated by vengeance, but instead you're going on this giant journey with Keanu Reeves, attempting to save yourself from the chip inside your head, slowly eating away at your brain, replacing you with Johnny's personality. You find yourself at the center of very important events when you and your friend Jackie witness the death of Saburo Arasaka. And it's at his son's hands, making you a very convenient scapegoat when you and Jackie are seen leaving the crime scene by Arasaka drones. Your fixer, Dex,
Lives in the quiet life after all. No blaze of glory for me.
betrays you and tries to dump your body, since you would lead everything right back to him, the one who orchestrated the heist in the first place. So you may be thinking this is the part of the game where you start hunting down Dex for vengeance. But, well...
Now, listen, dog. I have done exactly what you asked. So let's you and me figure this.
Unlike you, he failed his luck roll. You get rescued by a man named Takamura, since you still have the biochip in your head, and you are the only living witness to the death of Saburo Arasaka, which he plans to get vengeance for. Following this, you find yourself released in the Night City, with a gigantic map, with a ton of side quests, interesting characters to meet, and 4 major players who we haven't talked about, who we should probably keep our eyes on. But before we do that, I really want to shout out Claire. Claire is the bartender at the Afterlife. You help her win a few races in her car, the Beast. Claire is trans femme. And in the world of Cyberpunk, someone can easily go under augmentation to truly change their body to fit whatever fits them. She doesn't shove the fact in your face. Her car has a trans flag on it, and in a few dialogue options, she talks to you about how her husband was completely supportive of her when she got the procedure done. It's really great representation, and I just think everybody needs to know about that. Sorry, back to the video. So the 4 I was talking about are Judy, Panam, Rogue, and Hanako Arasaka, each being tied to a line of quests which all lead to a possible ending, except for Judy's. With Panam, you join the Avocados and lead a strike on Mikoshi, the underbelly of Arasaka, where they made the relic with Johnny's personality in it in the first place. Rogue's Quest sees you gathering Johnny's old crew and rallying to raid Arasaka with the same crew that Johnny used for his original heist, for better or worse. Lastly, Hanako's End sees Johnny getting destroyed and V becoming a relic, in the hopes that in the future you may be given an artificial body or some other solution is found. Essentially, giving up all control of your mental autonomy to Arasaka. In the end, V's story is a deeply personal one about self-actualization, finding your own identity, and if somebody can truly be themselves, if they always have somebody watching over their shoulder, judging their every action, while also criticizing the devil-may-care mindset of Johnny. Johnny is a legend of Night City, who's barely remembered a few decades later. After his blaze of glory, he died, thinking that he brought Arasaka to its knees, when in reality, they used him as an excuse to rebrand and build bigger. Even though the formula between Fallout New Vegas and Cyberpunk is similar, they both ask you very interesting and different questions. The major plot of Fallout New Vegas interrogates the player about their political beliefs, holding a mirror to them to show all of their failings. The NCR is a overly bloated democracy. House is a hyper-utilitarian autocrat. And Caesar is a fascist. They're all very real political beliefs that people you know may have. And to top it off, you have Yes Man, the fool's gold, the I'll take my own path and carve my own destiny option that sees you destabilizing the region and sending the entire area into chaos just for you to fill House's shoes. And guess what? We're not as smart as him. Since both games ask such deep and personal questions, I thoroughly believe that the main experience of Cyberpunk is a worthy successor to Fallout New Vegas. Okay, with the story out of the way, let's talk customization. Fallout and Cyberpunk both have very similar ways they handle player leveling. In Fallout, you get skill points and a perk point every other level, which slightly augment how you play the game. However, in Cyberpunk, when you level up, you get attribute points and perk points. Attribute points benefit specific characteristics and skills, while perk points are very small tweaks you can make to your playstyle. I would say, all in all, just taking that, Fallout has the better system when it comes to skills and perks. However, Cyberpunk really makes itself known using the implant system, which is like if perks had a roided up cousin you could buy from a vendor. It's insane the amount that your experience is defined by what implants you buy. If you noticed earlier, I didn't describe my runs by what path I went down. I told you that I bought a Sandevistan and a mono wire, which changed that much about my playing experience. I think both games allow you to truly craft whatever you want to play, but Cyberpunk has a lot more bells and whistles. But that's kind of on account of it coming out a decade later. And as a side note, both games literally have a mechanic built into dialogue where if your character has a certain skill, you can use it to bypass certain events. So earlier I brought up the idea that a spiritual successor would need to really flesh out the factions. And I can wholeheartedly say that Cyberpunk feels like almost nothing if not fleshing out every single faction they talk about. From the gun-toting Sixth Streeters to the Avocados, every faction has several quests showing their culture and why they exist. The only place I really think Cyberpunk fails is the side content. Yes, all the major factions are very well done. Even their side content is fantastic. But outside that, the most memorable side quest I ever went on was Skippy, a gun with a talking AI that you find on the ground, which asks you if you want it to incapacitate people or kill them. It will do what you ask until you kill 50 people, and then it'll switch modes. A while after switching modes, it will remember who its original user was and be asked to return to it, which you can do for a few thousand credits. If that sounds lackluster, it's because it is. There's no impact left on the world from the side content you find. Not to say that there aren't some bangers like Saving Delamain, but that's kind of it, isn't it? While in Fallout New Vegas, there are so few boring side quests because almost all of them have twists, interesting motives, or impactful decisions. But I do truly think if you're able to look over that lackluster side content and really dig into the meat of Cyberpunk, it's an amazing game and, to me, a worthy successor to Fallout New Vegas. From the compelling story to its great representation, there's so much to love. But yeah, thank you all so much for sticking around until the end. If you want to support me, consider subscribing or following me on Twitch. But that's all for me. Love y'all. Bye.